What's up, folks? It's Panama Steve right here at Pacific Vibe Studios, and today we have the United Lowrider Council of San Jose. Welcome in, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And we have David and Tijuana Rick. These are both council members from the San Jose Lowrider Council. I'm sorry I said that backwards right there, but
Sorry.
we would love for you guys to explain. I think you mentioned you guys were established in 2018, correct?
Yeah, I would think the vibe around creating the Lowrider Council was probably like 2017, and I think that it had a lot to do with what was happening around the state of California. But that could be anywhere between San Diego and San Francisco, and you know, just seeing how other cities were working with the municipalities, and the struggles we were having, like trying to do events and stuff, and I mean, things have always been happening in San Jose. I always say that whether I was there, Rick was there, whoever it was, the lowrider community never went away. Regardless of the cruising band, there was a lot of people out there that kept it going. You know, but everybody has different paths in life. And some people were able to pursue that, and maintain it, and other people chose to, whether that was doing something else, family, being locked up, whatever. But I think all in all, for most people in San Jose, you have somebody in your family or some type of motivating factor that still keeps you attached to that, and I think that's the most important part. But, hey, credit to the guys that were able to keep the lowrider community together and do the positive things that have been happening for years and years. And it's nothing new. The Lowrider Council, we've just kind of highlighted it to certain people. But as far as, we didn't create anything new. This stuff's been happening, and it's always been a very welcomed community and a very giving community and very structured. A lot of these car clubs, I mean, hey, they're dialed in on how they do things. And then you got other ones that, like, personally, my car clubs, we're really laid back.
Right, and some are really militant, huh?
Yeah, and you know what? That's what you sign up for. Mm-hmm. And then that's what you want, But if you're somebody that, hey, I want to be able to go to my granddaughter's baseball tournament or, whatever, and not be like, hey, I got to be somewhere, then that's your choice, right? But if there's nothing right or wrong about it, it's just everybody's personal choice, But it's it was one of these things that we wanted to get organized in a way that we are able to work with the city, have somewhat of a relationship with PD, just as, unfortunately, I mean, that's the reality of it, right?
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about that, bridging the gap between, like, obviously, it sounds like crazy when I say it, 30 years ago, where there was the riots and then there's the cops against the streets, and now everybody's working together, one big happy family. It's impressive. That's night and day.
I think with my talks with the PD has been, right now we're at the very beginning stages of the mending those fences, a little bit. And I think there's always going to be reasons for people to, like, say otherwise, as far as, maybe unspoken rules about crossing that line. But I think, in order to coexist in this city, we definitely need to have some type of relationship with them. So right now, it being the beginning, in 5 years, let's see where we're at. Let's see if it, in the end,
right,
in 5 years, where will we be? Do we go backwards or do we go forward? But at least you got to start somewhere. And I think we've done that. And, different regime could come into PD and be like, hey, we're not doing that. Fortunately, right now, we've had some people in charge of PD. And unfortunately, he's not there anymore, Anthony Mata, who took the big step of working with us and brought in his captains and spoke with us. And we've had sit-downs and reached out, and that wasn't always the case, But hopefully we can maintain that and move forward. And But even then, even like the city council members, and uh, the county, federally, they've reached out to us at the state level. So this is kind of not just San Jose though; it's all across the state. So AB 436, the cruising ban that got repealed throughout the whole state in one swoop, even though we did our own, that had a lot to do with that. But it still doesn't change the fact that there's officers out there that are not down with it.
Really?
Yeah, but it's a culture change. You know what I mean? It's something that, but I think it goes both ways, right? We got guys that are not down with the cops, right? And understandably, and hey, if you got personal things that hey, if my brother was killed by a cop, hey, I'd be like the same thing, And I'm not saying just because it wasn't my brother, I don't condone that,
Right.
But it's one of those things that it's people got deep scars and you can't change that, and on both sides.
It's like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, going back to the way we organized, July of 2018, it was I don't know. We met at a warehouse in Santa Clara, and everybody brought their lawn chairs, and we all sat together and kind of like wrote out where we wanted to be as a community. And I wouldn't say everybody showed up, but a good amount of people showed up. And
How many members at that time?
oh gosh, I don't know. It was a full warehouse, so I would guess we had anywhere between 60 to 100 people there. And we didn't invite like all of the cars. It was like a representative of somebody. It was old school, just like finding people's numbers and texting them and say, "Hey, we're going to be here," And I was just a facilitator. There was a lot of others that wanted to make this happen. So I just got the short straw, and I ain't getting voted in as president. Nowhere did I ever think that was going to happen, but it happened, and here we are now, 6 years later, doing what we've been doing, and I've been able to surround myself with some really good people, from all different parts of the community, lowrider community, and bringing in Rick, and I've been real fortunate with that. So I think, it's been a journey, and that first 5 years, we had like our 5-year plan. We've accomplished all those goals, from the no cruising ban being lifted, getting the San Jose Lowrider Day, bringing back Cinco de Mayo, working with the city and working with PD. I think we got to look, what's our next 5-year plan?
Wow, congratulations. And I also want, before you keep going on that, talk to us a little bit about the parade, the Cinco de Mayo parade. That must be just real prideful for you guys. You guys organized the whole thing to the T, and they appreciated how you did it the year before, if I'm not mistaken.
This is our first year.
Oh, this was the first year.
This year was the first year. The San Jose Lowrider Day was last year, and then
Right.
the year before that was the repealing of the ban. We had a celebration from the City Hall. So this September 1st will be our third
Oh, it's the third year.
third event in front of City Hall.
Oh, third event, okay.
And then Cinco de Mayo was this year, was the first one. I think for me, personally, I got so caught up in organizing it with everybody. It wasn't until after I realized the effect it had on a lot of people. I mean, there was people that doubted the event.
It was an amazing event.
And
I've never seen San Jose like that before.
but there was other people that did show up, and pretty much the general consensus is, when I walked around and asked people, for not just myself, but a lot of members on the board, we talked to people and did our homework as far as like, what do you guys think? What would you change? And most people said not really anything. That they were glad they were there, and that it meant so much to them, and it meant a lot, especially to the people from the east side, because downtown, no disrespect, everything's about downtown.
Right.
You know what I mean? Downtown gets a lot of everything, and I think the east side felt very prideful of what happened that day, and even the local businesses. This was totally 100% an event by the community, and for the community, and I think it showed that day, And there's always room for improvement. We didn't have enough garbage cans. So it's definitely room for improvement. I mean, and we hope to keep it going. And wasn't just our event though. I mean, I'll give credit that there was others that did events in San Jose. The trucks over there on the SAP Center. There was another Cinco de Mayo event downtown. And I just think the overall vibe of Cinco de Mayo that weekend, there was somewhere for people to go. There was somewhere for people to celebrate, and I think that was important. So I think for PD, usually it's chaos on the streets, right? And even though they ended up having to shut it down, I think one day, the other days, but the crime supposedly was down, there was still stuff that happened. There was still unruliness, and I'll touch on that a little bit, is that I think being in the inside as far as like what helps make a decision or what dictates a decision to start pushing people to the freeway is basically unruliness,
Right.
And I feel comfortable speaking for the lowrider community that it's not us, but it is our gente, it is our people. Unfortunately, whether they're in their 20s or 30s, that
With doing burnouts and
well,
what happened?
the stuff that I seen that I seen in the review of the event of Cinco was there was people throwing bottles at cop cars, in the parking lot. There was fights in the streets. There was a lot of that kind of stuff, unruliness throughout the city. And I just kind of put myself in that position. If I'm in charge of the city's safety that day, and I've got that happening throughout the city, that raises the level of unruliness. So at that point, you have to take action, right?
Right.
So if that's happening, right, on Cinco on a regular, what's the variable there, and what do we do about that? As good as much as a successful weekend as it was, we still had that, right? So I think educating some of these younger people that, we're trying to create a family environment throughout the city.
They're going to mess it up for all of us.
And celebrate in a responsible way. Hey,
Right.
I'm no angel, I like to put them back, I like to have a
Right.
good time, but there's a time and place for stuff, and if you got personal beef, don't settle it on Cinco.
Right. In front of everybody.
In front of everybody, But that's just one thing, we're trying to make our city better, because we are San Jose. I say it all the time. We are San Jose, and people look to us, as one of the better cities, and when there's a snapshot can just ruin something real easy, even though like 99% of the event was good, but people, all they're going to remember is that negative snapshot.
That's the way it works, right?
That's the way it works, right? They're not, they're going to see all the positives, but all it takes is a couple of snapshots to ruin it.
No news is good news, right? Yeah. That bad stuff everybody remembers forever.
Yeah. So, but Rick, you want to add anything to that? I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off a little bit, but
No, you're doing great.
Yeah, Rick, if you don't mind talking a little bit, about like, I know you guys wrote on your, I couldn't help but study a little bit of you guys, you're talking about the lowrider community in the South Bay isn't just a holiday type cruise. This is everyday lifestyle. If you guys could emphasize a little bit about, or either one of you can emphasize a little bit about how that is a lifestyle as to just celebrating it on Cinco de Mayo.
I mean, I think in a general sense too, like lowriding, it's a tradition already. It's generations deep, right? And so, by something being a tradition that's been around for that long, we're talking like 70 years that people have been dropping their cars and giving it a different type of estilo, right? That then becomes a lifestyle because that's something that you can pass along to the next generation, right? We understand Day of the Dead. We all set up our altares, right? Because we know that's part of our culture. That's part of what we do.
It's been passed down.
It's been passed down. And so lowriding, in a sense, is that exact same thing. But in San Jose specifically, I would say that, it blew up in the 70s. I do a lot of like historical research by just talking to people. So a lot of the facts that I spit out are just stories that I'm reiterating, you know what I'm saying? And, just hearing the stories of like Story and King in the 1970s, New Style Car Club. It's like what those people started back then has persevered through anti-cruising laws, right? Through diverting cars onto the freeway, through instances of police brutality, all the protests, shutting down Cinco de Mayo to try and get rid of people coming out. Like the cars are still there, right? The drivers are still there, the owners are still there in this city, and they're still going to represent. So, my hats off to the people that were there in the beginning, because that really is what created the lifestyle, is them being able to persevere through all of that. And now we're here to be able to celebrate kind of like the fruits of their sacrifice. And now we're on a completely end of the spectrum where we're being celebrated, right? Because if you think about it, there's been 3 lowrider councils in San Jose. There's been the Concilio in like the early 70s, who were trying to battle the police presence and use of force on Story and King. There was the one in the 90s, which was the Lowrider Alliance, I think, who were very much doing the same thing. And then you have the Lowrider Council, who, again, is like standing on their shoulders and being able to be working alongside with PD and city officials, which is pretty incredible if you think about it. It took a long time, but I think we're in a really good position.
A real long time,
Yeah.
way longer than it should have, right?
Yeah.
And just to add to Rick's point, there is, when this started happening, like 2017, I was kind of doing my homework, talking to certain people, and I was fortunate enough to be at a barbecue and just happened to meet the former president of the Lowrider Alliance. So I got to sit down with him quite a bit, and even to this day, he still calls me, and we kind of go back and forth, and he gives me tips and stuff, and I really took what he said to heart, because he was very honest. Paul Lemus was very honest, and admitted his what he thought was great about what happened and what he thought was bad, what hurt what they were doing. Then also went to San Francisco, and I talked to certain people and got their thoughts on and how they do things. But I always go back to every city's got its own their own dynamics, right? You can't compare San Francisco to San Jose and San Jose to San Francisco. We're just 2 different type of cities.
The apples and watermelon.
Yeah. It's just so, like, just to bounce off of what he's saying. We were able to take that to help us go forward to what we want to do. We knew what not to do.
That's beautiful.
and
Almost got the blueprint, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, we're not doing anything new that hasn't been done before or
Right.
thought of. And we just happen to be facilitating it. And at the end of the day, it's not about us being on camera or being in the front, but someone has to, right?
Right.
And it's definitely a love and passion for it. I grew up in San Jose. Lived on the west, lived on the east, lived on the south. And that's where I live now. But hey, I was a little kid painting cars. With my best friends. 2 of my best friends, their dads owned body shops.
Right.
And we'd be sitting inside the '63 that was going to be his one day. And putting wheels and putting fenders on. That was just the stuff that we did. We never thought of it like, oh, I'm part of this certain thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was just, we were grandfathered into this. You know what I mean? It was in the neighborhood. This is what everybody's doing, and everybody's uncle or dad had a car or cousin. And I always joke, before there were these Bluetooth speakers that everybody has now. You can go put Bluetooth speaker and put some music on, right? They didn't have that in the 70s and the 80s, You had your Theo's car or your cousin's car that you pulled up on the lawn, opened the doors, popped the trunk, and played the latest jams. That was your Bluetooth speaker back in the day,
Right.
And I always look forward to as a kid because I was able to go inside the car and play with the equalizer and all that back when everybody had all that stuff, and that's what I remember. Thanksgivings and Christmases and, just being around lowriders my whole life, because of my family, I have a lot of family from Gilroy. So if anybody knows anything about lowriders, a lot of lowriders in Gilroy,
Big time.
And so, getting a lowrider magazine and popping it open and hey, there's my cousins, there's, and they used to put the whole car club and everybody had their banner and then you just look on the pages and it was like club after club and those memories, it's just part of you, but anyways.
Yeah, I think when the repeal happened, right, and we were able to be among one of the first cities to take the no cruising signs down, it was like a perfect equation. You know what I'm saying? Like a perfect series of happenings that were going on that, like, I think it elevated San Jose to this position where it's like we're back in the spotlight. Like back in the days when Lowrider Magazine came out of San Jose, right, and was documenting this culture. Like in many ways, it was almost like looking at the mirror to the past of San Jose still being an innovator and someone that's pushing that line for progress, just like Sonny Madrid did back in the 70s, right, with Lowrider Magazine. And there's so many firsts that come from San Jose that for us to be like one of the first three to do it is like, it was like the perfect storm came together a couple years ago. And
I would love for you guys to talk a little bit about like the history of San Jose and like what you're talking about, Sonny Madrid and these other individuals that were like the first guys. I want you to say it. So
No. I think Rick's our guy for history.
Because obviously we all know that, a lot of it started in LA and San Diego, but then there's certain things that San Jose brought to the table in the mid 70s that kind of separated us from the rest.
Right. Shoot, man, where do you start? There's so many people that I've talked to and professors that have done this research. So I'm not taking any credit for any of this, right? Of reiterating any of this. It's all out there already. But you have, Sonny Madrid starting Lowrider Magazine and realizing that this was a blossoming culture that needed to be captured through like a journalism type of sense. And so creating a magazine like very much like bootstrap, you know what I'm saying? Like DIY, putting everything together, doing the darkroom stuff. His son, like Mario, knows pretty much everything about his dad. So, that's starting out in San Jose. And because of that magazine, people all across the United States get to see what's happening every month in different parts of, originally in California and then kind of spreading out from there. And that becomes the document and like the Bible for this culture, right?
Right.
And then from there, there's like little kind of like copycat magazines that start to pop up in the coming years. But it all follows the blueprint of what was started by Sonny's mind.
What year was that he started Lowrider Magazine?
77 was when it came out, and I believe like the official date is 76, like December 76 or something like that.
And we also got Street Low Magazine.
Yeah,
that's
Street Low
very
Magazine.
strong.
Absolutely.
Still,
Yeah. I think that's the longest magazine that's out right now that's been in publication since its inception. So yeah, another.
And Impala magazines, around, so there's a lot of stuff coming out of San Jose.
Yeah. And then if you want to talk about like hydraulics, you got like Andy's Hydraulics, right? And so, you go on Instagram right now and cars hopping and hitting back bumper is like all day. Like you go on your Explore feed and like
it's normal.
You see it. It's normal, right? Easy.
Right.
Easy to see, probably much easier than in the 70s to accomplish. But, Andy and his team out here in San Jose, they were the first ones to have a car basically stand on its back bumper. That happened in the fairgrounds. And then I think like 2 years later, he was the first person to flip a car over, and like, so we have footage of that, which is awesome for us to be able to see. And like, if you look at the photos of it, it's crazy how he built that car, but he's using like principles of engineering and ways to shift weight to be able to push the car over. And there was like some tricks into that car that was able to accomplish that. But you think about, that was like 40, 50 years ago that they were able to do that. And now
taking airplane hydraulic parts.
Yeah. And that was even earlier. Yeah. Not from here, but like in LA, they were.
Oh, is that where it started in LA?
Yeah. It's in that book, but
there you go.
Take it over with that book. Yeah. But yeah.
Tell us about the book now that you mentioned it.
Yeah. World War II, taking apart decommissioned planes from the landing gears.
This is
and the
post-World
wing
War
flaps.
II,
Yeah,
right?
post World War II, when all the like Army surplus yards were plenty, right? You're talking like was it like late 40s, probably
Yeah.
early 50s, where someone thought, hey, we're gonna take these cylinders out and these pumps, and I'm gonna throw them in my car. I'm gonna cut big ass holes and get this car to go up and down. And
That's crazy.
But it's crazy where hydraulics have gotten to now.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, they really put it down.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, there's some very, very smart guys out there, and they've taken that to a whole nother level.
Yes,
I mean,
they
back
have.
in the day, I mean, having your wheels butterflied out was cool. You know what I mean? And now that's like that's old man stuff. Now they better be tucked. And so there's things have changed. And there's three wheeling. There's everything.
yeah, but if you talk about a lifestyle, like there's a perfect example, right?
Yeah,
Something
that's
that
a
just
lifestyle.
continued from the 40s all the way till 2024.
Yeah, but the thing is, those guys, the hydraulic guys, I mean, that's a big commitment, because you may go out and hop for once and have to turn around, pop your trunk, and dump about $400 or $500 in parts to go at it again.
Wow.
So these guys, they're committed. It's a commitment. And
It's an expensive habit or hobby, right?
The whole thing is
Everything.
expensive, but I tip my hat to the guys with the hydraulics, because that's a whole nother level. That's a serious, that's a big boy game right there.
Right, and then recently I've noticed that you got all these cherried out 60s and 50s Bel Airs.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
what's going, because usually it would just be the G body and they're beating it and you could see it falling apart, and it's like, this is my beater type.
Yeah.
Right? But now you got these cherried out, who knows how much, $60,000, $70,000 cars that they're just smacking the bottom.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I just went to the car hop King of the Streets in San Francisco. So it's one thing, too, to see it on your phone and to go see it in person. It's like, wow, bro. And then I get to see a bunch of the cars that I've been following all these guys. And, it's real cool experience to see it firsthand.
Yeah. It's definitely something to see.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, man, like lowriding is about it being a lifestyle. Like it's a lifestyle for us, but for people who are not in the culture, like they won't understand it unless they do see it, right? And so, how as a lowrider council, whether it's in San Jose or Sacramento or LA, are you allowing people outside of lowrider culture to be able to be a part of these events,
Be exposed to it,
to be
right?
exposed to it, but also experience it, right? Because you can explain lowrider culture to somebody, but they won't understand it until they actually see what this car is and the person that drives this car and that's building this car, right? Because that's the kind of lifestyle that it is, that it's a lifestyle that needs to be witnessed, you know what I mean, for you to experience the full, like, beauty and breadth of it, right? Like at the car hop, you probably felt like the ground shake with all the weight of those engines just pounding and then
Right.
and hopping back up, right?
And what you mentioned,
you can't
like,
explain that.
you can just go and do something wrong, and then, it's just crazy just to wrap my head around it. That you gotta, who knows how expensive, $100,000 cars, some of these cars, and you're over there just smacking, just beating the hell out of it. So I can't help but just be in awe. I've seen cars hop.
Yeah.
Right. I've been around lowriders since I was a teenager, so 30 years plus. But to see these badass cars hopping and just bottoming out, I can't help but just be like, wow, like a kid in a candy store. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen this Sunday.
Yeah.
But the thing is, too, is I think like the best part of this is it builds community, right? Because these guys are such a tight knit group. They, a drop of a hat. Hey, I need help. They'll come over someone's house. There's like 4 or 5 guys in there, sometimes more. All pitching in to help get this guy back up or ready for a show. And I think that's what's cool about it, is that brotherhood or sisterhood, that gets created through that. And in the background, you got, the little kid, with his little lowrider bike in the background, and, and he's seen that, and there's like a little sponge, right? And that's what keeps this going. You know, I mean,
Absolutely.
where's low riding 50 years from now, right? How do we create that where we're all long and gone, and this shit's still happening?
Right.
You know,
Like even nowadays, because rewind 30 years ago, we're talking about 1994, right? I'm 43 years old.
Yeah.
So we're talking about, when I was 13.
Yeah.
And so now you see youngsters that are, I hate to say it like this, but like imitating what was going on 30 years ago.
Yeah.
To be vintage and got, their Dickies all creased up, or Ben Davis or whatever, you know what I mean? All creased up. And it's just funny to me, I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's just like, damn, I remember that. Like, damn, I'm getting old. Like, or I don't know how you even look at it, but it's a trip. So like what you say, it's hard to wrap your head around that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, nowadays you see people that are dressed up in pachuco and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? So that was what, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
So, what you're talking about, 50 years from now, they're imitating something that happened, 80 years ago. So it's a trip to wrap your head around it, because it'll be alive.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a,
It might be electric cars,
right?
but,
The Tesla will be the classic.
well, no, I mean, you still have an old car making it. They're already doing that, I mean, they'll put a Tesla motor inside a 65 Impala or something, you know what I mean? And
Right.
have hydraulics and probably have even more juice, but that battery driving that car feed your hydraulics and your motor,
Yeah.
Right.
But like just as far as the culture itself, that's my hope, that the work we're doing today will help lay the tracks for the future.
Absolutely. You guys are doing a great job. Because when I was a youngster, it was just go cruising, and then you just happen to see some cars. Majority of the cars were just regular cars.
Yeah.
So like over the last 10 years, I want to say, whenever I go to any kind of event, it's just like, wow, like this is amazing. It's almost like, like a car show, a moving car show, like, you know what I mean? And it's especially the other day for Boulevard Nights, that was cool too.
Yeah.
I mean, besides the little mishap at the end of the evening, or at the beginning of the evening, but no, it's the organization, the level of organization. Everybody's networking with each other. Yeah. That's what it's all about. I mean, I can't help but give you guys props for kind of quarterbacking a lot of this, and bringing the unity between all these different car. How many car clubs are there in the Bay, in the South Bay?
Yeah, we kind of adopt a little bit of Morgan Hill, maybe Gilroy, one or two clubs, I think, and Sunnyvale, Santa Clara. We're a little over 70 last count I heard. That's not including the solo riders. For the Cinco de Mayo event, don't quote me exactly on this, guesstimate, I think we had approximately like 170 solo riders
Really
registered for the parade, which is real important to us. Because at the beginning, to be honest, we were sticking to the clubs, and we didn't take the effort to recognize the mistake we had made during that time and not include a lot of the solo riders. But now we've, rectified that, and we have a list of guys now.
So how many cars was it all together?
For Cinco de Mayo?
Yeah.
350, 355, something like that total.
Wow.
Yeah. So we only had room for so much. And if you were there that day and you looked where it ended under the bridge to King and Story, we couldn't have fit anymore. So that was done by measuring physically at the site and doing the math, and through aerial views, double checking that, and that's how we pulled that off.
Was max capacity.
It was max capacity. We came up with 300, I think, at the beginning, and we ended up figuring out another 50. So
I was trying to park them. I had a heart attack out there trying to get those guys under that bridge, man. That was crazy because there was like a fire lane, and
it was a chaos, organized chaos.
But it worked out.
Yeah. So, but I definitely want to mention September 1st.
Yeah, tell us about it.
So September 1st, San Jose Lowrider Day, from 12 o'clock to 6 p.m. We're going to have it closed off from 3rd Street to 7th Street. The Santa Clara Street will be shut down, and on both sides of 4th Street, north and south of 4th Street, and that's where the vendors will be set up, food trucks. The stage will be set up in the intersection of 4th and Santa
I'll be a
Clara.
vendor there selling some of these Pacific Vibe shirts, by the way.
So, hey, please come out. There's no registration for the cars that are going to be on the street. The cars for the platform, we only have enough room for 60. So we'll be reaching out to clubs and some solo riders to do that. But we're hoping, because it's a holiday weekend and that's Labor Day weekend, that you come out and enjoy 408 Riders Barbecue is on Saturday.
Where's that at?
I believe might be private information. I'm not sure.
That's how you roll these days. Yeah. I saw that the other day.
Hit them up, I guess.
Yeah, hit them up. But then the next day would be our event on Sunday. So that's a good weekend to come to San Jose.
Absolutely.
And bring your car, get a hotel, go to the 408 Riders Barbecue, cruise after, wake up the next morning, come out to San Jose, Lowrider Day. Don't have to register again. Just, we'll have a map out where to enter and bring your ride.
First come, first serve.
First come, first serve, and we fill it up.
You said it starts at 12 o'clock, you said?
12 o'clock. We'll send out information out there. We'll probably start rolling at 10 o'clock for the cars on the street and 9 o'clock for the cars on the platform. But, the most important thing is for everybody to come with the right attitude.
Right.
This is not somewhere to come and settle your beefs. It's not somewhere to act the fool. This is, we're going to have grandmas, grandpas, moms, dads, our kids, public officials.
Yeah, be on your best behavior, right?
And we have a good time to celebrate our culture. And
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But, we want a peaceful family event.
And be able to do this every year,
and
right?
be able to do this. Don't want to give them a reason not to do it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the most important thing, and make a positive memory in San Jose, and so we could keep doing this and not lose it. And it's something that, was a long time coming, and I'm glad we have it now. And, we're going to get people out there that, first-time vendors, you know what I mean? I've had several phone calls for that. None of this, and this is all free. You're not paying to come in. You're not paying to park your car. None of this you're not being charged for any of this, and that's always been our goal, is to keep things free. We're not in it for profit, not in it for fame. We're just there to help raise awareness of our culture and celebrate our culture and give everybody a peaceful place to come. That's the main goal.
And congratulations, man, because you guys are doing it. And if it's anything like how it was last year, man, this is just, it's epic. And I'm proud of you guys for being able to put it together and keep it going. It's one thing to do it once, but it's another thing to an annual, traditional, keeping the culture alive.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. Yeah. So, hey, tell us about your book you just wrote.
So I had just joined the Lowrider Council, right, in 2022, and this book came out the year after. And so I was inspired by my daughter being born and not having any lowrider books to read her, basically. This was like 2017. And I'm a designer and artist and all that. And so I was like, all right, well, what would a book like this look like if it was written well for the culture by somebody who's also in the culture, right? Because most of the other books are written by an outsider's perspective. And they focus mainly on just the cars and the aesthetics of the cars. And so this really dives into, well, at a very surface level, it gets into nuances of the culture. So it talks about like aircraft hydraulics and Gypsy Rose and Teen Angel, hopping, like what is hopping, right? And so you're learning the alphabet through lowrider culture, right? And so, like, I don't know how many people have told me, man, like, this is how I want to teach my kids the alphabet. Not A is for apple, B is for, whatever, boy.
Right.
Like, I want to learn through like this. And so it's been really cool to see this thing kind of take off. The Lowrider Council shouted out in there
The ABCs of low riding, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Made by Tijuana Rick, man. Hey, this is cool, bro. I went over the first couple pages, and I got a couple of kids. They're a little older now.
Yeah.
But this would be super cool to be able to introduce to your kids, and they're learning all kinds. It's not just the ABCs, right?
Yeah.
No, this is awesome, man.
And it is a kid's book.
Is that your first kid? Is that your first book?
It is my first book that I put out. Yeah. I got plans for another one.
Kids books? Or are you gonna do
Kids
something?
books, yeah. Like that's where it's at. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I don't want to write books for adults because they already have their mindset on like what low riding is. But for us to be able to pass this tradition down, but very much in the model of what the Low Rider Council does too, is like creating something that has so much quality to it that you have to be a part of it, right? So like the events that the council and all of us put our heads into and putting this work out there to have like this really amazing event where people want to see it happen again next year, right? It's like the same thing as like putting out a quality book. I don't want just a paperback book. It has to be hardcover and all that. But then also giving people an opportunity from an outsider's perspective to learn about this culture. And like Lowrider Day is a perfect example of that. I don't know how many people I talked to last year and the year before that didn't have lowriders, but they were just like, oh man, I live down the street and like I heard all this like all this music and stuff. I'm coming out here to check it out, and they're checking out the cars and they're enjoying the celebration too, and just the vibe and the environment that's facilitated at that event. That's how welcoming it is, right? For people to just come and
Right. It's not just for us.
right.
Oh no! I think another event we have coming up is September 22nd. We'll be at Montalvo.
Via Montalvo.
Yeah.
Up in Saratoga Mountains, right?
Yes, and I've said this before, but last year when they called us and said they wanted to do something up there, I kind of thought, "Are you serious?"
Right. That's high end up there.
Yeah, right. I mean, and lo and behold, they were serious, and we somehow made it happen. And I mean, I think it maybe been about 2 weeks after we got an email saying, "Hey, we're doing this again."
Mm-hmm.
It ended up being one of their better events.
Wow, that's
And,
awesome.
and I think a lot of the people that went to it weren't very sure. I think nobody was, even the community. We're driving through the neighborhood up there, and if you're familiar with that area,
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty well.
Creme de la creme.
Yeah, and I think we had like around 70, 65 cars at West Valley College, and we all rode up together and snaked through the neighborhood, music, hydraulics, everything, and
Woke up the neighborhood
woke
a little
up the
bit.
neighborhood a little bit and made it up to the grass field in front of the house and set up. And one of the organizers was there, and she's in tears. She's just overwhelmed with like that was her vision. And hey, I was just happy to let us park on the grass. And
No, that's a beautiful venue. I actually went to a concert up there.
yeah,
That place is amazing. I think it's like an old mansion or something like that, right?
yeah. So we're doing it again. September 22nd. It's on a Sunday.
I'll be there.
Yeah, that one unfortunately we'll have to do invite only for the cars and we're limited.
I hope I get for the
For
cars.
the cars, yeah. So we'll be reaching out to people. I'm sure people are reaching out to us wanting to be part of it. I think my phone was blowing up before this with somebody requesting that. I didn't forget about you, Larry. And anyways, yeah, it's definitely an event to go take a look at. We have the theater there with panelists. The local color will be there. Hoping to have the same amount of cars. We'll probably have biology radio out there, and have a good time out there. Hopefully it's not too hot.
No, it sounds great, man. I can't wait. That sounds, like I said, I've been there, so it's a whole vibe, just the mansion alone, and then you got all these classic cars, and some good music. Man, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. For those that don't know, how can they get a hold of you guys? Your website and your email. I mean, your social media handles.
United Lowrider Council of San Jose, And our email is lowridercouncil@gmail.com. You know, we do get, I would say, bombarded with emails. We do our best to get through them, you know, and sometimes they get opened and, you know, somebody might have read it and the other person, you know, left it read. So then we don't know if it's been touched or not, but it gets passed over. So we don't avoid anybody intentionally. It's on accident, but we're trying to tighten that up. But it's one of those things, you know, we're learning, you know, and it's definitely a challenge balancing all the requests that we get. And a lot of times, you know, not everybody knows this, but we're giving away projects or events to other clubs. You know, we try to reach out who's active, who's out there, you know, and say, hey, you know, Armadillo Willie's reaching out to us. They'd like to have something. Can you support this event? Or like we're doing the San Jose Public Library. I think this might be the 4th year or 5th year. I think they had like 50 kids come out when they first did a trunk or treat at the library on Hillview and the one on Elm Rock. We came out during COVID, 2020, and this is during COVID, which was kind of crazy, right? We brought out cars to both the libraries on the same day, and at least I know at the Alum Rock, we was like 600 kids, 500 something kids. And every year it just grows, where I think we had like 1,200 kids last year at Alum Rock.
Wow.
You know, and the library's just like, they're emailing us like in May. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we need to get ready for the trunk or treat. So we'll sub that out. And this year we have Esta Vida Car Club is going to be doing one of the libraries. And the car club called The Others will be doing another library. So that's the type of stuff we try to do and give those guys a chance to.
No, you guys are doing great.
You know, to spread the love and it helps us where, you know, alleviate some of the stuff that we do. And we just kind of help facilitate that a little bit and let them do what they need to do.
Yeah, big props on the brotherhood. It's almost like an extended brotherhood, like the mafia. You guys are totally connected. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to accommodate everybody, you know.
Right.
But it's hard to say no. Definitely.
You guys are doing great, man. And it was an absolute pleasure having you guys on. And I got to say, my buddy at Hotheads just made this Pacific Vibe Studios hat for you. So you can find him at hotheads.com or on Instagram. But once again, I thank you guys for coming in. It's a pleasure having you. And, you know, keep it lit, man. You guys are doing awesome.
Definitely, thank you.
And I'm your #1 fan over here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So this is Panama Steve with the United Lowrider Council of San Jose. Until next time, you guys be cool.
Thank you.